Hello, praise the Lord, and welcome to From Sickness to Health. I'm your host, Rico Hill.
I'm the co-host, the guy Sickness. That's me.
Today we have a very exciting program for you.
It's so exciting. It's my favorite topic. Can I tell him what it is? Can I tell him?
Go ahead.
Today's topic is hypertension or high blood pressure. I'm so excited.
I have never seen you so excited about a program before. What is up with this? I mean, I get the whole making people sick thing, but what's with the over-the-top enthusiasm?
I'm Sickness, right?
Right.
Think of me as an assassin. Every assassin has his favorite mysterious way of carrying out assassination. And this is mine. I sneak up on you. Hence the term, the silent killer.
And what's with the voice?
The health assassin.
Well, guess what I am?
What?
The host of a health program. And I'm gonna start it right now. Roll it.
No. Wait. Roll it. I worked on the voice all day long.
Roll it. I gotta go. Thank you for joining us here in the studio of From Sickness to Health. And we are still excited about the program we're going to share with you today. We're going to be talking about high blood pressure. Maybe you have encountered the silent assassin, the silent health assassin with high blood pressure or hypertension. Before we get started and introduce our guest, I want to say hello to there he is, our silent assassin himself, Sickness.
Hello.
He's remote somewhere, causing problems for someone. So we'll get back to him in just a moment, but let's go and let's meet our guest today. We've got with us once again Dr. Yvonne Lewis, who is a naturopathic doctor and also the general manager of this network, and we're so happy that you're here to give us wisdom.
It's so great to be with you. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Dr. Thomas Jackson is here with us once again from Meet Ministry, who is a doctor of natural health sciences, and we're thankful that you're here again.
Oh, I've been enjoying myself. Thank you once again.
Yes, I'm glad you're here. And let's say hello to Dr. Camille Clark, who is a doctor, and she is specializing in internal medicine, medical doctor. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Now,
always a pleasure.
We're going to talk about high blood pressure today.
We are.
Yeah. And a lot of people, I believe it's 1/3 of Americans, 1 out of 3, are suffering from high blood pressure. African Americans, even more than the rest of the population.
That's right.
And most are medicated in some form or fashion to deal with their high blood pressure. Is that correct?
That's true.
If they know they have it.
If they know they have it. And we want to get into how do you know you have it? What does it look like? What are the dangers of high blood pressure? And in a lot of ways, it's a precursor to a whole lot of other diseases. It could affect what? Your kidneys, affect your heart, diabetes, and in a lot of ways, you'll find the root cause. I know you like this word. The root cause is found in something very common amongst a lot of people. Is that right?
That's right.
So, but here's something that's going to really blow your mind. Children.
That's right.
They just did a study. They just did a study. 11,000 young people, 8 to 17 years old, and they saw that high blood pressure is up 39%. 39%. Now, I can imagine. I've got kids. Some of us have kids here. Can you imagine your 8, 9, 10-year-old having high blood pressure? You're seeing this, are you?
Well, I deal with adults, so I'm not seeing the children, but definitely before when I was working with them, we did see it.
You did see that?
Yeah.
So this is a phenomenon. So before we get into this and start breaking it down, let's see the perspective that Sickness may have on this and get us going.
Thank you, Rico. Look at this guy. Look how unsuspecting he is. Now let's check out his refrigerator, shall we? Let's see what he's got in the fridge. Oh yes. My man knows fried chicken, French fries. Looks like he's gonna fry this. Ooh, fried bananas. Looks like he's gonna fry some grilled cheese. Oh, this is good stuff. If you'll notice the theme here, everything's fried. You know, Rico, it's foods like these with lots of salt and sugar and fat that make him a prime candidate, you know, along with a little lack of exercise and alcohol, for the assassin. You see, it's a myth. People think you have to be overweight to experience hypertension. You don't have to be. You just sit here on the couch like this guy, like everything's okay, and then boom! Stroke, heart attack, the silent killer. People never see it coming. It's like the bullet of an assassin. Where did it come from? Well, we know the truth. It came from the kitchen and marinated on the couch. Back to you, Rico.
Well, that's interesting. The silent killer, like the assassin's bullet. Where did it come from? That's the question for us today. Where is it coming from? Where is this hypertension, high blood pressure coming from that's affecting so many Americans?
You know, before, I like to deal with the word silent. It was given a nickname called the silent killer. I use a spiritual parallel about the coming of Christ. It says in Revelation 1:7, all eyes shall see him. He's not coming silent. Then another place says he's going to come as a thief in the night. But that doesn't mean that his coming is not visible, will not be seen. And the reason he comes as a thief is night because people are not reading the signs of his coming. And so high blood pressure to me, just from my experience, is not a silent killer. It's that we don't understand the signs that indicate it's going to kill us.
Dr. Lewis, what are some of the signs? What are some of the signs of high blood pressure?
Well, one of the things is that you don't really know that you have it. It is truly silent. I mean, you don't know that you have it, but you can have lightheadedness, you can have fatigue, you can just be like really have like some malaise, or you don't have any of that, and you're just going on with your regular activities and you don't know it. So you can, of course, find out, and you need to find out. Just by having a regular little test done, you can find out if you have hypertension.
Now, Dr. Clark, you are in the hospital, and what are you seeing?
It's very common. It's very common, and as both of these doctors mentioned, a lot of times you can be feeling well, just like your normal self, and then your blood pressure is checked and it's through the roof. So it's really important, one, to be aware of what's going on in your body, because even though you're feeling fine, it's having an effect on you. And when that effect accumulates, that's when you start seeing what we call end organ damage. So there are a lot of different organs.
What was that? End
organ damage.
End organ damage, and we're talking about liver, kidneys,
Absolutely.
pancreas.
That's right. Your brain, your eyes, kidneys you mentioned before. Those are very important. So the cumulative effect of these high pressures and what it's doing to your vessels, to your vasculature, to your organs, eventually manifests itself. Even though you're feeling fine for a moment, there can be this event that drastically changes your life, if not kills you.
And the reason I mentioned the signs, you know, a text tells me here in the book of Psalms 119, verse 70, it says, their heart is as fat as grease. Now, when I said signs, that means that, let's take obesity. So if you're overweight, that's to me is a sign.
That's a sign.
Okay?
You're feeling okay, you're walking around, but you're overweight.
We wrote a book called, you know, Silencing the Silent Killer. And I deal with 7 signs there. So not the fact that we can be feeling good, but there's our lifestyle indicate that we're setting ourselves up for a heart attack, high blood pressure. I'm obese, therefore what about my salt intake? I'm looking at my lifestyle as a mirror. The Bible says, you know, in Romans chapter 3, verse 20, the law is, without the law, there's no knowledge of sin. Again, I'm just using a parallel. So if we educate people in regards to lifestyle principles, we can look into the mirror of the law and measure our lifestyle, whether our lifestyle is setting us up for the silent killer. You get what I'm saying? So if I find myself overweight, I mean, as a doctor, anybody knows overweight is a predisposition for that. You know,
so if I'm overweight, that's a sign. I look in the mirror,
that's a sign
it should tell me that I am definitely predisposed. Maybe if I'm walking up steps, I go up one flight of stairs and I got to stop and I got to do this.
That's right.
That's a sign, maybe.
And the fact is, I go back to my diet. The fact is, there are certain foods that predispose me to that. You know, the salt intake, the sugar, the fried food. So I'm measuring, saying, am I addicted? Do I eat a lot of fried foods? You know, like I said, people end up having a heart attack. It's not because they just sneaked up on them suddenly. It's that their lifestyle had already predisposed them to that. So what I do is help people to understand the lifestyle they live in could be indicators of for them having a stroke.
So we want to inform people that they should absolutely look at these signs that might be manifested in their lives.
That's
now,
right.
We found a video, little animation, that shows really very specifically that we are truly a nation under pressure. Under pressure.
Under pressure.
But we want to look at what that pressure is. What is happening in the body? You mentioned your blood vessels. You said the vessels or your vascular system. There is something that is taking place there when you're under pressure with hypertension. Let's take a look at that video and let's see if we can get some more perspective.
It's a beautiful fall evening. The sun is setting. The dog finally stopped barking. Life is good. But inside, there's trouble brewing, and Emma has no idea. Although she feels fine, like her father, Emma is one of the 67 million adults in the U.S. with high blood pressure or hypertension. Just like her radiator that's on the fritz, Emma's heart is working overtime to get the job done. Let's have a look. The heart is the pump in our bodies, delivering blood to the entire system through a set of pipes, or blood vessels of all sizes. Smoking, high cholesterol, diabetes, obesity, physical inactivity, family history, and increased age all contribute to these blood vessels, or our pipes, becoming less elastic. The more blood our heart has to pump through stiff, narrowing arteries, the higher our blood pressure. When the force of the blood against our artery walls is too high, life-threatening health problems can result. Problems like kidney disease, heart disease, stroke, even heart attack. Can Emma get her pressure down before it's too late?
Now that really puts it into perspective, doesn't it?
It
you
does.
see that? You see that it's like these pipes. Gave the analogy of the furnace. These things were happening unbeknownst to her. Now, she was in this video, they noticed they were African American. Yeah, because it affects us more commonly.
Right.
But she was a slender woman. But you talked about the signs. We talked about whether it's silent or not, and it kind of set up in the animation there that everything seemed idyllic. You know, it was a suburban area, everything seemed fine. But brewing underneath was this killer. Now, but it brought out something else. High cholesterol, sign. Inactivity, sign. We saw even in the clip with sickness when he went in there and the man sitting on the couch,
on the couch watching.
just watching television, channel surfing, and just eating. But that's a sign.
Those are signs. Those are indicators.
Let's talk about that.
There's this book by a Dr. Barbara Dixon, and it's Good Health for African Americans.
What's the name of that book?
Good Health for African Americans.
Okay.
And in it she talks about 10 controllable risk factors that if you manage these, you can avoid disease. They are obesity, salt, drinking, which is alcohol, drug use, fat in the diet, a lack of physical exercise, stress, untreated high blood pressure, and uncontrolled diabetes. These are some of the risk factors that are controllable. If we control them, we can avoid disease. So these are some of the things that we were talking about here. If we can look at what we're doing and make some changes in our diet, we can make a difference. We can manage the hypertension.
That's right.
So I like that because you're agreeing now with the points that Dr. Jackson made it, that it's about the signs.
That's right.
This is not so much, sometimes it's a misnomer.
Right.
When we say it's a silent killer.
Yeah.
Yes, when people aren't paying attention to the signs. I like
Paying
that
attention,
angle.
that's the key. And that's why education is so important based on these. Because the fact is, we need, as you know, my people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge.
Yes.
And especially within the urban community. You find there's very little education in regards to how the body functions.
Yes.
And the importance of it in every organ. So I think, that need to be emphasized greatly within the whole educational scheme of health. That if we understand these factors, then we can prevent it. Why? Because now we can make some intelligent changes, how to make these changes. Just simple with exercise. Okay, let's stop being spectators. Let's be participators. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, good.
And so these are just things that we see that's happening that we just need more educate, rather than medicate.
Rather than medicate.
That's right.
I think that we have put the silent assassin, he's quiet now.
He has to be quiet because we need to empty his guns.
We have emptied his guns. He has no comment, nothing to say. So, all right, then I think that we are making some points that might be a benefit to people who are thinking as sickness is thinking that, it's a silent killer.
And so it's going to happen.
And it's just going to happen. And if I take a drug for it for the rest of my life, hey, everything's fine.
Now we're talking. Rico, on that point, I'd like to say something.
I guess he's not too silent, is he?
Yeah.
Your point is?
Yeah, my point is, many Americans, I think that statistic that you said was 1 in 3 Americans have high blood pressure. And for something that common, which is almost everyone, they make drugs for that. So, hey, leave the people alone. They're perfectly happy.
Are people happy?
Yeah.
Really, are people happy when they have to take a medication, a drug for this, a drug for that? Does that bring happiness?
It doesn't. And I mean, medications are to assist, but we really want to get to the root causes. And that's why I really loved those 10 points that you brought out, because it shows us things that we can do and stop doing so that we don't have to be dependent on those medications for the rest of your life. So, I mean, simple things like obesity, your diet, salt is a big thing, and it's hidden so many times. We think, oh, I'm not adding any salt to my meal, but you're eating from a can. If you were to read the label, you would see how much sodium that's in there, and that obviously is affecting. The other thing that she mentioned is sometimes we take over-the-counter medications. Maybe if you're having a cold, you may take some Sudafed or something like that. That can also raise your blood pressure. It's just the effect that it has on the vascular system and the constriction. I won't go into too much detail. It may be a little bit overwhelming, but it can definitely cause elevation of your blood pressure. Sometimes if people are using any illicit substances or drugs, they may not realize that it's having an effect on their blood pressure, but it actually is. And then obviously if you're overweight and not active, these are some of the natural things that we can do so that we can't we don't have to be dependent on drugs, because they do have their side effects.
There are 2 things that I want to make sure we cover before we run out of time, and that's one of them is salt, because you mentioned salt, and salt has come up, and people will be told, you've got to get rid of the salt. But I think we need to be very clear. What type of salt are we talking about? Because I've seen some salts that are really depleted of minerals, like your table salt, your ground salts. That's the one that's high in sodium chloride, right? But then there are other types of salts that are high in minerals, because we're made up of salt, just like the water that's on the earth, right? We're made up of salt. In fact, someone comes into the hospital, emergency room, sometimes they're just kind of listless and they need something, a boost. They give them a saline, right? A saline drip. So that kind of gets things to be stabilized. So there's room for salt. So what's a good salt? What are we talking about here? I mean, should we just, if you're hypertensive, should you just get rid of salt altogether?
Well, I think every body is different. So you have to really make sure that your body can handle salt. Some, again, yes, we're talking sodium chloride we should definitely not deal with, but Himalayan salt is one kind of salt.
Well, Celtic salt, that's a good one.
But you want to make sure that you're not salt sensitive because every body is different.
Okay.
One thing that we need to know too is that there is sodium in celery, and one prescription is 3 celery sticks a day can help with hypertension.
That's true.
So if you eat 3 stalks of celery a day, you can help your hypertension because of the sodium in the celery.
And
so
also,
it is a good
true.
celery.
That's right. And in the celery, but we have a good potassium-sodium balance.
Right, that's important.
Because you got your intracellular and the extracellular, potassium in and sodium out. So when you have potassium, because one of the indicators that I found that with hypertension is potassium problem too. Sodium is high, potassium. And then we end up with a diuretic, then we flush the potassium, then we got to take a potassium pill. And so if we can get the food the way God put it together, you remember what
Comes
God...
back to food,
Go
nutrition.
back to food. What God has put together, let no man tear asunder. So everything is chemically balanced within that celery.
And just to add to that, I think the proportion is something that we also need to bear in mind as well. In North America, we just get too much salt.
Too much salt.
Way too much salt. And as you were mentioning, there's natural salt in a lot of the foods that we eat and our vegetables, and they're in the right proportion. So even though you may have your Celtic salt, your Himalayan, and all these great, don't go overboard with
That's
it.
right. Moderation
Because
even in that.
because there's a lot of added salts just in so many things that we eat on a regular basis. So especially for us, as African Americans, especially if you have high blood pressure,
right.
you really want to take that extra effort to cut back on salt.
Absolutely.
And guess what? Your taste buds readjust.
That's right. I agree 100% with
They
that.
readjust. In 2 weeks, I mean, it may seem bland, but you'd be surprised.
But then there's
Taste
other
buds
ways.
can always change.
But then there's other ways to make food taste good without
Lemon and-
That's
yeah.
right. So there's other alternatives that I believe God has given us because, He wants us to enjoy the food, but at the same time, we don't want to be, eating like the food can be deadly good. We don't want deadly good food. So we can take ownership.
Yeah.
See, the key with being healthy, people say required effort. Anything required effort. It's what you value. Do you value your health? You see, you got to take ownership. You got to take responsibility, and don't believe that that's nothing you can do.
Yeah, and Dr. Jackson, the flip side is that when you do have that devastating effect, when you do have a heart attack, when you do have a stroke, it changes your life forever. So, when we have to balance, okay, what's easier? Not enjoying this food or, not being able to walk or take care of
talk.
your grandkids
It's a
or
stroke.
because you've had this life-altering effect. It really is it's no comparison.
That's right. It's a good point.
Prevention
Very
is
good
something
point.
that we should really value.
I think we're giving people some hope here. We're giving the people some hope. When you think about, let's take a scenario. I'm a person, I'm sitting at home, I'm hearing all this information, I'm trying to assimilate it, and I spend a lot of time in this particular place where I'm listening to this whole program on the couch, and I'm a little overweight, and I do enjoy, my fried foods. Let's talk about how the practical steps that they could take right now to really begin to turn the situation around.
Okay. One is if you're sitting and watching television on the couch, every time there's a commercial, get up.
And do what?
Move around. You can
Just go to the refrigerator and get some more fried food?
Go get some water.
Get some water, do some jumping jacks, but move around. That way you're signaling to your body that, hey, you got to do something. You're not just going to go into fat storage mode. So get up, do something. Every time there's a commercial, through the commercials, that means if you're watching, we don't have commercials on Dare to Dream, and you need to be watching Dare to Dream. but you can, every few minutes, actually get up, do something, do some movements, jump around, then sit back down. You don't have to do
That's
it
practical.
for an hour at a time. It's bite-sized little things like that
That's
that
right.
can begin
Metabolism
to make a
slows down when we're seated and sedentary, right? And
exactly.
then we gain weight and all that.
And get up and get some water.
Get some water.
Like Dr. Jackson just
Instead
said.
of-
But
instead of going
let's get
to that
outside. How about some
Coca-Cola.
fresh air?
Yeah, go outside. I mean,
Good.
a little fresh air between those little breaks there. Stick your head, feet, body out of the door.
I've heard you call it something like an oxygen cocktail.
Oxygen cocktail.
Ah, I love it.
Taking in some good fresh air.
Yeah, and you know
Well-
what? If you live in the city too, and you cannot go right outside, if you have a terrace, stand out on the terrace, get a little sunshine. 6 minutes of sunshine on a 6-inch patch of skin will give you the vitamin D that you need for the day. These kinds of things we can do easily.
Baby steps.
And that will help to regulate your blood pressure.
It will help.
Get outside, get some fresh air, get up off of the couch, drink plenty of water, and you can begin to see your situation turn around. These things that we've shared today, and I thank my distinguished guests for sharing this information for you to be healthier. So go be healthy and come back and see us the next time on From Sickness to Health. Today we saw that we are a nation under pressure. High blood pressure. While this is a chronic lifestyle disease that leads to more serious illnesses, it is something that can be avoided and even reduced or reversed by making adjustments in our lifestyle, including exercise and avoiding high fat and high salt foods, but increasing fruits and vegetables in the diet.
Look, it's true. Hypertension is preventable in most cases. But Americans don't care. I mean, we salt everything. We fry everything. We salt and fry everything like it's going out of style. And you think a program like this is going to change that? No.
Look, if we help one person, just one, this program has been worth it.
Good luck with that.
Look, the word says in Exodus 15:26, if thou wilt diligently hearken to the voice of the Lord thy God, and wilt do that which is right in his sight, and wilt give ear to his commandments and keep all his statutes, I will put none of these diseases upon thee, which I brought upon the Egyptians. For I am the Lord that healeth thee.
But with all the hypertension out there, people can't hear his voice or give ear to his statutes. That's why sickness is in the land.
Look, friends, why would you listen to the voice of an assassin who only wants to get rid of you silently? True health, spiritual and physical, comes from listening to the voice of God. That's his word and his truth. His truth endures forever. He will do as he says and heal us from all of our diseases if we follow his precepts and adhere to his word. Let's bring back his word and hide it in our hearts and get rid of the silent killer, hypertension, and the assassin. Well, that's our program for today. Remember, 3 John 2 says, Beloved, I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper and be in health. I'm Rico Hill.
I'm Sickness.
Maranatha.
Oh, I had some French fries, some fried food, and some salted nuts. And, I don't know if you can hear it, but my head is pounding like a drum. Don't. Oh, that vein in my neck's protruding. I'm feeling dizzy. I need some water. Water? Water, anyone? Oh, but don't turn on the lights. Oh, no lights. All this for a piece of fried chicken? Oh, I should have ordered an ambulance. Oh, I think I overdid it. Oh, I'm feeling dizzy. This is no joke. This is no joke. Oh, somebody help me.